Time for a midterm assessment in the National Football League. They're surging in Miami, Baltimore, and New York, while the preseason polls were way off in Green Bay, Los Angeles, and New Orleans. It's Eagles and Commanders on Monday Night Football. We've got props, picks, we got starts and sits. And don't forget, we got Sal Paolantonio coming up, Gary Myers, and plenty more on a live version of This Week in Pro Football.
It's time for This Week in Pro Football, a deep dive into the key issues and marquee matchups in the National Football League. For the next 60 minutes, we invite you to sit back or lean in with host Pat Callahan as we preview the week's Eagles matchup, big games, breaking stories, and all news NFL. It's This Week in Pro Football, right now on JAKIB Media Sports.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a live version of This Week in Pro Football as we premiere a Thursday night edition of the show to give you plenty of time to get ready to watch the show between Thursday, Friday, Saturday before the actual commencement and kickoff on Sunday afternoon, or in the case of the NFL's endless attempts to get the people of Europe to forget soccer. We have a 9:30 game on Sunday this week featuring Seattle and Tampa Bay. Not a bad game, actually, in Munich, Germany. But welcome, everybody. We'll spend the next 60 minutes talking about Week 10 in the National Football League with a look at the standings, a look at the schedule, and obviously an emphasis on the Philadelphia Eagles as they get ready to host a Monday night game against their division rival, if rival is the right word, the Washington Commanders. Washington coming off a loss at home against Minnesota, the only team in the NFC East under 500. The beast that is the NFC East, and there's another beast in the East too, the AFC. We're going to talk about that with Sal Paolantonio in a little while, about the fact that the AFC does not have a team with a losing record in it. And Xander, if you will, let's bring up my Vince Lombardi graphic here. What the hell's going on out there? As I mentioned, you're looking live at the show tonight. Excited about that. A glance at the midterms. As I said, this is not political. Don't anybody get squirmy about that. By midterms, I mean, I'm going to spend some time with Sal in the next segment going through the teams that I think are the contenders in each conference and just getting a couple sentences from Sal on each one as to how they might jockey for position now that we're at the midpoint of the season. The Eagles and the Commanders, as I said, on Monday Night Football. The Eagles sit at 8-0, and quite frankly, I think they're going 11-0. The Eagles' next three games against Washington, Indianapolis, at Indy, I can't see that a problem, and then home against Green Bay, which looked like a formidable game. Packers might right the ship. You never know. Aaron Rodgers is one hell of a quarterback, but right now it looks like 11-0 for Philadelphia before they get a home game against the Tennessee Titans, who are always a tough out. 2 down, 30 to go. 2 NFL coaches already biting the dust. Another this week. It's really getting bizarre in Indianapolis. First, they signed Matt Ryan for a ton of money and then bench him for the rest of the season. Sam Ellinger comes in, does nothing but run backwards and sacked 9 times against New England, just having a terrible, terrible run of it. So Frank Reich has shown the door. Some murky circumstances there. But Reich is gone, his second one. Matt Rule was previously dismissed as coach of the Carolina Panthers, and Indianapolis hires Jeff Saturday, an ESPN commentator, former longtime center for the Colts. But still an odd circumstance in Indianapolis as to what's going on there. The JETS, Jets, I threw them up there because really, you'd have to say they're the surprise story of the NFL, or at least one of the major ones. Jets are 4-0 on the road en route to a 6-3 record. They just beat Buffalo at home. I never thought that would happen. But meanwhile, the Jets have really turned it around with a suddenly stout defense playing some good football. They shut down Josh Allen. More on Josh Allen in the show. He did not practice again today, looking dicey for Sunday. I'd be very surprised, though, if he doesn't play. But right now, it's a little dicey with an elbow. You do not want a quarterback to have a right elbow injury. Like I said, we'll do stock up and stock down with Sal. We got picks and props with the great Sean Green from Bet SGPN. And we got Dave Gloeckner coming in, subbing for Tony Cotillo. We're going to talk some fantasy. And we got Gary Myers at the end of the program. So, lot to talk about. And let's get this guy on here, Xander, if we could. That would be my early show co-host and the longtime host of the NFL Matchup Show on ESPN, and noted author, that'd be Sal Paolantonio. Sal, how you doing?
Pat, I'm doing great. It's week 10 in the NFL where the rubber meets the road, Pat Callahan.
Right.
We're playing November football, baby. I love it.
I know, Sal. And
it's quick. It happens quick, Pat. It happens quick.
It really does, Sal. Here we are, week 10 already. I would swear I was prepping to start this show about 2 weeks ago with week 1. And yet here we go. We're already halfway through this thing. And when we get back from the break, Sal, I'm anxious to get your take on a number of teams and where you think they are. And boy, but I'm only going to concentrate, Sal, on the good teams. I mean, because it's funny, Sal, how there's a number of them in the AFC, not as many in the NFC, and that, of course, plays to the benefit of the Philadelphia Eagles. Talking about the Eagles, Sal, you were kind enough to send to me again how the Eagles, should they win the turnover battle Monday against the Commanders, will they set or tie the NFL record? It goes back to the 1958 Colts, I guess, right? The 1958, the famous Colts of 1958, for having opened up the season for 10 weeks in a row and win the turnover battle in each game.
And, of course, we know that the 58 Colts beat the Giants in what is known as the best game ever in NFL history.
Right.
That was a great team with Johnny Unitas. So you're talking about historic records now that the Eagles are setting. And they're doing it the old-fashioned way. You know, they are doing it by taking the football. Listen, the game is predicated on 3 specific principles. Keep the football, take it away, and score points. Those are the 3 things. And, you know, it's very interesting that we talk about this today, Pat, because the local Philadelphia press was talking to Nick Sirianni at his press conference today, Thursday, customary before Monday Night Football. Usually it's on a Wednesday. And when the press went into the auditorium at the NovaCare facility, they saw for the first time a big color poster up on the wall talking about ball security. And it is a poster that is in every room, every meeting room, the weight room, the locker room for the Philadelphia Eagles. But Nick Sirianni is so good at messaging that he wanted to show the media, and he did it very subtly, put the sign up there. It was no announcement. He didn't talk about it, but it was the buzz in the room afterwards. No question about it. Wow. Ball security in the NFL is so important. It's the number 1 determinant of winning and losing in the National Football League.
The Eagles have turned it over a whopping 3 times. 3 times they've turned it over, so in 8 games. So I'd say that message from Nick Sirianni has sunk through. They have forced 18 and only done it 3. And boy, you are correct. That plus 15, which leads the NFL, that tends to help you go 8-0, doesn't it?
It does. And so the messaging with Nick Sirianni is working. The players are responding to him. They're responding to Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is just doing it in a very subtle manner. You know, he's a terrific leader. We've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it all year long, everywhere in the city. And now he is backing it up with superior play from the pocket.
I know. I know. And Sal, we mentioned it last week, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but to the extent to which he has improved his demeanor, I mean his pocket demeanor and his awareness from that January loss to Tampa Bay to where he is now, it's really one of the most.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Pat, what's going on with Jalen Hurts in the passing game. He's doing a great job, and you can see it. He is more of a pocket passer since the bye. They obviously went into the bye thinking that they were going to come out of it against Pittsburgh and throw the ball more. There'll be more 5 and 7 step drops.
Okay. Can you hear me now? We had a little technical difficulty there, Sal.
I got you, Pat, loud and clear. You got me?
Sorry about that. God knows what I'm capable of doing here when I get into the studio.
So anyway, as I was saying, you know, they changed the offense during the bye. He's now become more of a pocket passer, 5 and 7 step drops. And that's very good because you need to have points that come out of the passing game, but you also need to protect him. And Jordan Mailata gave up a couple of really bad sacks in the Houston game. Right. And your left tackle in the NFL in November and December and January must play at a high level in order for you to be effective pocket passer.
Well, they certainly listened to you, though, because you have been sounding this alarm a few weeks back about the fact that Hurts was running the ball too much. That appears that they have really curved that back a little bit. They've opened up the passing game more now. And Sal, you've cautioned me over 19 years. Remember, the show's called This Week in Pro Football, but I just think the Eagles, the opponents that they're lining up, this one Monday night, Sal, I don't think that this team is good defense. It's an underrated defense, really, though, in Washington. But still, I don't think they can match up against the way the Eagles both run it and pass it.
Well, to dovetail off of your point, Pat, I sounded the alarm 3 weeks ago that he was running the ball too much and getting hit too much. He was getting hit 17 times a game. That was most in the NFL. Now he's getting hit the second most. Justin Fields is number one. Yeah. So when he runs it less, he will get hit less, but he is also getting pressured more now that he's in the pocket more. So they must protect him better against teams that have superior pass rushes, like the Dallas Cowboys, like the Giants, the number one blitzing team in the NFL. So there's happy times, 8-0. Right. And so let's talk about the Washington Commanders. So the Eagles are number one in the NFL, and this is astonishing. They are number one in the NFL in explosive offensive plays per game. And explosive plays are defined as rushes 10 yards or more, passes of 20 yards or more. Okay. The Commanders are 28th in the league in that category. They can't do anything well offensively. This game is on Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon has to basically shut down Taylor Heineke. There can't be any Taylor Heineke sneaking out for a couple of touchdown drives early in the game. They got to just shut down the whole Washington Commanders offensive operation from the get-go. This is an important test for Jonathan Gannon, I think.
All right, Sal, when we get back, we'll take a break right now. When we get back, I'd like to break down some more Jalen Hurts stats to talk about how markedly he has improved so far this season. And then let's rumble through the National Football League, and I'll get your take on those teams that are up right now and contending and where you think the whole puzzle fits. All right, so we'll do that with Sal Paolantonio when we get back on This Week in Pro Football.
First Bank is a true community bank with offices located throughout eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Being a First Bank customer comes with access to personal bankers, ones who know you and your business almost as well as you do. Joe Calabro is a regional president at First Bank and has been a leader and a lender in the southeastern Pennsylvania market for over 30 years. Call their Westchester office, 484-881-3800. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling.
It figures the first 5 minutes we do this, we take the show live. I knock them away.
Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
Not only that,
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships.
You'll be ready with this when we get back. All right, that's the Hurts stat.
Energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at UGIES.com.
Cantor Novak Beaver & Pike is a full-service CPA firm with offices in PA and New Jersey, offering first-rate accounting, audit, and tax services. They focus on helping clients achieve their business and financial goals, from startup operation to long-term financial planning. For more information, call Terry Cantor or Dan Pike at 215-550-2954 or on the web at cnbpcpas.com.
Are you looking for a family-friendly fitness center in the heart of Bucks County? Spring Mill Athletic Club has programs and activities to offer the whole family for every age and season. Group classes, personal training, dance academy, summer camp, and more can be found at this non-intimidating environment. Come tour Spring Mill Athletic Club today and get a free 1-week trial membership. Visit us at springmillathletic.com for more information.
I want to be a game changer in construction. I want to be able to provide diversity in the workforce, and it starts at the top. I started Rodriguez Construction Group in 2013 with 2 employees, and we're 85 strong today. M&T has been a great partner since day one, providing us the access, the opportunity, the funding to be able to continue our growth. We can change the community in a positive way, one person at a time, one job at a time, and one family at a time. I think M&T Bank is very committed to the community, just like us.
All right, welcome back. This week in pro football, Pat Callahan here, joining you with the great Sal Paolantonio from ESPN, host of the NFL Matchup Show, which runs Saturday and Sunday on the Mothership. Great to have you here, Sal. So, Xander, if you could, why don't you bring up that Jalen Hurts graphic that Sal had provided us, and we could talk about this guy and the gaudy type stats, Sal, that he has put up so far this season.
And he's doing it as a passer. And that was the big question mark coming into this season. So you have to give credit to Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, the coaches, Brian Johnson, his quarterback coach. And, of course, first and foremost, to Jalen Hurts himself, going to California, working out in the offseason, being diligent in terms of his chemistry with his wide receivers. And then the addition of A.J. Brown. You know, as I said on this program last week, I think A.J. Brown's addition is one of the top 3 free agent moves in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. Just a tremendous move at this time. Perfectly dovetails because of his relationship with Jalen Hurts and what they wanted to do on this offense. And you can see it, Pat. You know, the Eagles are first in the NFC. And this is what the game is all about, Pat. It's points scored and points allowed. I say it all the time, but it's true. The Eagles are the only team in the NFC in the top 5 in both points scored and points allowed, Pat.
Right.
And they're number 2 in points scored in the league and number 1 in the NFC in points scored at 28 points a game. 28 points a game, Pat, is a lot of points. That's good.
Look at his interception rate, 0.8%. The second in the league with that, 6 rushing TDs, tied for 5th for that. And even so, we talked about the fact, or at least I did, that they weren't passing the ball very often. He's up to 10th now, even in passing yards. It's really been extraordinary what he's been able to do.
Well, I want you to look specifically at interception ratio, right?
Yeah.
Second in the National Football League at 0.8%. If your quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, Pat, you're in every game. Every game. It's like if your number 4 hitter does not strike out, you are in every game in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Well, our hitters here in Philadelphia tend to strike out quite often, Sal. So
historic rate, Pat.
Analogy.
Yeah.
You know. But football-wise, you're certainly right. They never turn that ball over. As a result of that, I've said that before. You turn the ball over, you just give the other team a possession. You lose one. It's like it's a 2 swing, if you will. You know what I mean? And Dick Vermeil always said that. Vermeil always said those turnovers will kill you. Sal, I don't remember what his magic number was, but I think he said if you lose the turnover battle by 2, you lose the game or something like that. But the Eagles are not doing that. The Eagles are forcing them. And they're playing on both sides of the ball right now. So
and very focused week to week. So they got to take on the Washington Commanders, and you can't let them. The Eagles cannot let the Commanders sort of leak into the first quarter with a little bit of confidence at all.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Put them down early.
Put them down early. Let them think about golf. Because if you let a team hang around, all of a sudden they get very interested in the game. So you're exactly right. So. All right, Xander, if you could you bring up the standings now? What I'd like to do with Sal Pal is, Sal, as we hit the midterms here, let's look at both conferences. I'm going to start with the AFC, and then we'll come back to the Eagles in the NFC. And what I want to do is I'm going to rattle off some team names to you, and just tell me where you think they are at the midterm and whether like they're heading up or down or how this is all going to play out, I guess as the second half of the season starts. So we'll start with Buffalo. I'm just going to mention Josh Allen, his completion percentage in the last 6 quarters. This is all according to, by the way, ESPN.com, just a tremendous source of football information. I got a lot of this off of them. 48% completion percentage, Sal. No touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the last 6 quarters. Tell me where you think Josh Allen is right now with that elbow injury.
Well, Pat, I am happy that you finally discovered ESPN.com after you and I working together for 20 years. Congratulations on that.
I see that. I never miss a beat.
Josh Allen wasn't on the practice field today, Thursday, as we speak. He has an elbow injury in a right elbow. You never want to see that in somebody who throws anything for a living, whether it's a baseball or a football or a javelin. So the Buffalo Bills have got an issue. So right now, I would say the Buffalo Bills are in a holding pattern, Pat. They couldn't beat the Jets. Minnesota is well suited on both sides of the ball to beat them this weekend.
Yeah.
This is a game where Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier, who run that defense, need to shut down Kirk Cousins on the road. Can happen, has happened before, and the defense must win the game. They got to win the game.
Yep, fair enough. Sal, the Miami Dolphins in the AFC East have won every game that Tua Tagovailoa has finished. He is really, talk about it, Jalen Hurts. Is he the AFC version of Jalen Hurts?
Wouldn't that be something? 2 former Alabama quarterbacks in the Super Bowl playing one another. But, Miami's got a long road to go before that happens.
Right.
I do like the Dolphins. What I like about them is they've got great speed on offense. I think that Mike McDaniel's design is perfectly suited for those track guys that he has on both sides with Tua and the nice tight end in Gesicki that he has. Roaming between the hash marks. So the design is there, the schematics are there, and Tua is completing passes with accuracy. Now they've got Bradley Chubb to go after the quarterback. Dolphins are going to be a team that you will have to deal with in January for sure.
Amazing, Sal, how that AFC East has all of a sudden solidified. Even New England, who you've seen a couple times in doing analysis with Steve Levy, New England, very strong defensively. Matt Judon leads the NFL in sacks.
They do, but they got a long way to go. In my view, they're not in the top 5 in the AFC.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because offensively, I think they're still a little tortured offensively. And then, of course, there's the Jets. Now, the Jets, still hard to say you're going to drink that Kool-Aid, but the Jets are, as I mentioned earlier in my show, they're 4-0 on the road. And here's an amazing ESPN stat, Sal. They were 3-3 so far this year in games where they were down double digits. They were 0-40, 3-40, I should say, the previous 4 years. They had lots of practice at being down double digits.
Yeah. So I'm on one of those short weeks, Pat. Even in year 30 of covering the league at age 66 with all this gray hair, I do the Monday night game, and then I turn around and do Jets at Patriots in Foxborough on a short week. So I'm looking forward to that game. And to me is the game, right, Pat, that says, okay, if the Jets can go to Foxborough and beat the Pats, all right, now I'm going to pay attention. I'm not paying attention quite yet, but I will pay attention if they go up there and beat them.
Sal, the Baltimore Ravens, they're always I'll give John Harbaugh such credit. That team is always competitive. They're always tough. And it's hard to blow them out. They've rushed for 150-plus yards in 8 straight games. But do they have enough skill position talent?
They're a top 5 team in the AFC. As you alluded to, Pat, the AFC is loaded. I would say right now it's Chiefs and Ravens 1-2.
Yeah.
Notice how I didn't put the Bills in that spot. I got the Bill. I think because they're healthy, because they're now rushing the quarterback and traded for Roquan Smith from the Bears, and they're running the football, and Lamar Jackson seems to be on some kind of mission. I know what that mission's called. You ready, Pat? Yep. It's called money. He's looking for the big payday, Pat.
Yeah.
And so he's on a mission to get big-time money.
Yeah.
So I like the Ravens a lot, and they stay healthy, Pat. They will be in the AFC Championship game, I believe.
Yeah, and they great acquisition with the Bears. They great trade by Baltimore there, and they get Roquan Smith. I like the Ravens a lot too. The Chiefs you mentioned, Chiefs are strong. They're not blowing anybody out, or they're not blowing a lot of teams out, but Chiefs are still strong. And you mentioned their top two, so I go with that. Sal, let's go to the NFC right now, where I just get your take here on who it is right now you see as Philadelphia's biggest challenger. Talk about the NFC East for a minute, Dallas and the Giants.
Well, I think that, we're going to find out about the Giants. Losing Xavier McKinney is no small thing to that hand injury to the ATV incident that he had during the bye week. That was a big blow. Yeah. And, because Wink Martindale is the number one blitzing defensive coordinator in the league. And in order to blitz effectively, your back end has to be able to take care of business. Yeah. So McKinney's injury is significant. Everything has a cause and effect relationship in the NFL. If you do one thing, the other thing's got to work. It's the ultimate team game. So, I look at points allowed as so important. The Eagles are in the top 5 in points allowed, as I mentioned, and they're right behind the Cowboys, who are number 1 in the NFC in points allowed. Yeah. So the Cowboys defense is going to, just torment Aaron Rodgers up in Lambeau on Sunday. And, the Cowboys defense is for real. Their front seven can get after the quarterback. Dak Prescott's getting healthier and better. I see Dallas, the Giants, Minnesota, and San Francisco, because the San Francisco 49ers defense is a championship-level defense, and now that they have Christian McCaffrey, that helps them quite a bit.
Oh, I think it helps them an unbelievable amount. I really do. I think it probably, in my opinion, will end up being the biggest trade of the season by the time the year's over. And I said it last week too, Sal, on my show that I think the 49ers ultimately, and I know I'm guilty of looking ahead here, that's the team I see coming here in January, and that's the team the Eagles are going to have to beat, assuming it's not another NFC East team like you were just saying.
That's why we call the show This Week in Pro Football.
That is correct. That is correct. And just let me throw one bouquet out there to the job that Pete Carroll has done in Seattle. I mean, that team looked like they were going to have to retool for a few years. Sal, your take on what I think is a hell of a job he's done out there.
And the funniest moment of the last 2 weeks is Pete Carroll poking his finger at Russell Wilson over wearing a wristband. The fact that Geno Smith is comfortable, has embraced the wristband philosophy, and that's and then Russell Wilson gets asked about it. Can you imagine those fans in Stuttgart and Munich wondering, what are we talking about with wristbands? When Jurgen Klinsmann played, forward for the German striker, he was his greatest German striker. He didn't need a wristband. Come on, give me a break. When he won the World Cup for Germany, he didn't win. What are we talking about here? Can you imagine all those football fans in Germany thinking, man, oh man, things are petty when it comes to the NFL. But I thought that drama, or melodrama is actually more of an appropriate term, is an interesting part of what's going on there. And I think it's clear, right, Pat? The weight of Russell Wilson has been lifted off of that team, right, Pat?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
They have been liberated. Sometimes the old adage, and you know it in business, you get the addition by subtraction. I know. Right?
They certainly did, Sal. Nobody saw it coming, least of all the Denver Broncos. I can tell you that. So you're certainly right. I never thought we'd do a midterm assessment of the AFC and not include Denver in terms of teams that would be on the come. But you're certainly right. That trade has worked out really well for the Seattle Seahawks. All right, Sal, that'll do it for this show here. You are in Philadelphia. You get a weekend semi off, right? You're in Philadelphia this weekend, then it's off to Foxborough, right?
Pat, my brother, when your football team in your hometown is the only one that's undefeated, right, there are no days off, Pat Callahan. Okay. No days off.
I know. Look at it. I got you working here Thursday. God Almighty, I know.
And I'm glad that Xander put out the memo for the sport coats today. Our first live show together. Thank you to JAKIB Media. This is fantastic.
We're going to ramp it up from here, Sal. By week 18, it'll be white tie.
Okay. Well, let's. Hey, you know what? We should do that. If the Eagles are undefeated in the regular season, We will do the show in a tux.
All right, we'll do that. We'll certainly do the last one. And if they're 16-0 going into the last week, we'll do it in the tux. Absolutely. All right, Sal, we appreciate it very much, pal. Thanks for hanging out with me, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon. All right, the great Sal Paolantonio joining me from ESPN. All right, Xander, when we get back, we got Dave Gloeckner joining me. We're going to talk some fantasy football. We're going to see who's up and who's down for Week 10 in the National Football League right here on This Week in Pro Football.
I grew up in a home, and I wanted my kids to have that. The process of buying a home seemed so daunting, but Christine and M&T believed in me. Everyone took an interest and helped me through the process. You don't get this kind of service everywhere. I closed on the house, and I didn't tell the kids. They were like, oh, you got the key? You closed on the home? They were so happy. M&T Bank made this dream come true for me and my girls.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at UGIES.com.
At Whistler Pearlstein LLP, we assemble the most effective team to handle all of your legal needs. There are players and pretenders, but our hustle and heart set us apart. In practice now for over 75 years, we're proud to be one of the most prominent full-service law firms in the Philadelphia region. We offer 17 different areas of practice, including business, corporate, and tax education law, real estate, zoning, and land development, municipal law, and litigation. Our top-rated attorneys and staff are laser-focused on client success. We strive to provide outstanding legal counsel with the highest level of care and consideration. Let us show you the Whistler way. Learn more at WhistlerPearlstein.com or email Michael J. O'Donohue at mod@WhisPearl.com. WhistlerPearlstein.com or mod@WhisPearl.com.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
It was late at night. I was browsing KennedyAuto.com when there was a knock at my door.
Hey, baby, what you doing?
Buying a car from John Kennedy Ford.
Online?
I let her in on the secret. KennedyAuto.com makes car buying easy. That got her attention.
Can I go for a ride?
Let me get my coat. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
Welcome back. This week in Pro Football, week number 10, the National Football League here live on JAKIB Sports. Pat Callahan joining you. We got about 30 minutes, well, a little more than 30 minutes left to go to rumble through week 10, the National Football League. By the way, give me a follow, please, at TWIPF Pat. You can follow the network at JAKIB Sports here on Twitter. And we'll keep you up to date, try and keep you up to date with all the inanity that sometimes is the NFL. One thing I didn't get to mention to Sal, I wanted his take on, was Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera is 12 years an NFL coach. He's overall 97, 92, and 1, 3 and 5 in the postseason. He's never won the hardware. And yet he just rumbles along, and he's not even questioned as far as being a bona fide and successful NFL coach. You got to ask yourself the question, you know, it's a guy who's 12 years in the league and is 97 and 92. Is that successful? I don't know. but appears to be successful enough that he keeps his job, both in Carolina, and then he went right to Washington. So anyway, Rivera leads the Commanders in here on Monday night. How about we bring this gentleman on here to talk some fantasy football, and that would be Dave Gloeckner. Dave joining me from Win Daily Sports, subbing for the evil Tony Cotillo. David, how are you, pal?
I'm doing great, Pat. It was a great time on here the other week, and I hope I gave a little bit of some levity to the show. Sorry, Tony was back last week.
Yeah, I know. It's all good. When Cotillo's not on, it's all good. So
good.
Tell him how we missed him terribly here, and but you're more than happy to fill in. So, all right, David, we have a game tonight, Carolina and Atlanta. So I'm going to hit you right off the bat here. I want you to tell me. I actually have 3 guys. I'm going to hit you with 3 names. You tell me which one I'm playing: James Conner, Cordero Patterson, or Deonta Foreman. Who am I playing?
Cordero.
Cordero.
Yeah, Pat, I was on the show right before that Atlanta-Carolina game the other week, and we talked about DJ Moore. And DJ came up with a huge game, but primarily because of 62-yard Hail Mary at the end of the game. Yeah. I think that pass game is starting to get figured out. I even think Foreman's starting to get figured out a little bit. But Patterson is a touchdown machine.
He is.
For that reason alone, I would go Patterson.
He is a touchdown machine. It's great. 14 carries, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns last week.
Hey, did you see the one? He absolutely leveled a linebacker. I mean, he's not a slight of foot guy that, returns kicks only. He's got some power.
Actually scored a third, but they called it back. I'm trying to find all right. So what I want to do too, Dave, before we get to some one-off or jigsaw puzzle pieces that you like, let me hit you with some names here and just tell me sit him or cut him or something as far as how you would advise people over at this point in the season. I'm thinking specifically of Chris Godwin. No touchdowns yet this year for Tampa Bay. Every week it's Godwin's feeling better. He's coming back. He looks good. And every week it doesn't happen.
I know, but I think I'm going to still start Godwin one more week. The Seattle D is gettable. And I think maybe we got to watch. Maybe something happened last week in that unforgettable Rams collapse to Tom Brady that they can get this rolling. Look, Godwin, 17% of the target share last week was his lowest of the season. But before that was 25 and then 26%. He's still the number 2 target on this team. Julio Jones got dinged up last week. I'm still having a little faith in Godwin. But if he doesn't do it soon, it's time to sit. I won't cut, though.
Dave Gloeckner, presented by the good folks at Concrete Cutting Systems. Yeah, I was shocked Julio Jones got hurt. That hasn't happened in a week. Hasn't happened at least a week, Dave.
Yeah.
So how about any Pittsburgh wide receiver? I guess let's name 3 of them, because you've got Deontay Johnson, who I have 0 touchdowns so far this year, right? You got, who is it?
George Pickens.
George Pickens. And then you have Freiermuth, the tight end. Any of them you like, or is it time to just wash your hands of all 3 of them?
I like the latter 2. I mean, the fact that they got rid of Chase Claypool kind of opens the field up more for Pickens. I think they have a lot more faith in him. Pickens having that camaraderie, he's been through some training camps with Pickett, the NFL draft process. I think they have a little thing to build here. Having that bye week, they finally get some time together to really – because Pickett was thrown into this thing pretty quick, right? Yeah. Halfway into one game, started 4. Now they can pause. I still like Pickens. I love Freiermuth. I'm off on Deontay. I just think we've gotten to the point he doesn't trust him. It's just clear as day. And if he does, it's for 3-yard outs or jet sweeps. I don't like it.
Big fall from grace for Deontay Johnson, who, of course, I drafted. How about Christian Kirk of Jacksonville? He's another guy. Each week I hear this is his breakout week. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And he's 3 for 51 and no touchdowns. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I'm still good with Kirk, especially this week against a Kansas City team where they're going to have to throw the ball. Kansas City not very good again in the air defensively, but that's really, a factor of the way they play the games and the pace that they play out. I'm still buying into Christian Kirk. I think it's more of the factor of Trevor Lawrence. And if there's anything we know with Doug Peterson, I think he's starting to grow Trevor a little bit. Those mistakes down there, the goal line, are killing them. Yeah. But last week, that coming back from 17 down against a Raiders team who is just – I can't believe how many games they've blown.
Yeah, if you want to be down 17-0, Dave, that's the team to be down 17-0 to, right?
It's like even.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, All right, you're still high on Christian Kirk. Now, I think the Chiefs are bringing back Christian Okoye this week because there's only 8 guys in their backfield that they like to use, so they'd like to get a 9th in there. But tell me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is it time to write him off?
Yes, cut him. You don't even need the space on your roster for him anymore. 2 straight weeks he's been out-snapped by both McKinnon and Pacheco. If I think in the Chiefs' perfect world, if they can get a game script they liked, Pacheco will be the number 1 lead. But they've just kind of had to trail. Like last week, you remember versus the Titans, it was mainly a passing game, so McKinnon got more snaps. I think we're seeing Pacheco take over that backfield. I'm done with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I have him on one team, and he's no longer on it.
Yeah, it's just, he's just, you're right. I mean, at some point, you just got to do it. Now, of course, I remember I'm the guy, we were laughing about this last week. I'm the guy who 3 weeks ago was done with Justin Fields.
Oh,
thank God I got rid of him. I mean, he looked lost.
He did
3 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden he looks just like Jalen Hurts. I mean, I think he plays just like him. He runs like him, and I think he's seemingly out of nowhere. He's come up with a pocket awareness. All of a sudden, all the Bears are viable for fantasy.
Yeah, he's a little faster than Hurts too, right?
Yeah.
So they can do it. Everybody was killing the offensive coordinator in Chicago for the way he was trying to, adapt, Fields to the NFL game and use his legs, but it's opened up his passing game. Mooney's been really effective, and the Komet had a big game. So I'm with you. I think Fields is going forward, top 6 quarterback.
Oh, and you know what else, Dave, I think has really helped these running quarterbacks too is the way the game is officiated today. Even when a quarterback is on a design run where he's not supposed to then have any protections whatsoever, I think subliminally the officials still look to protect him. And when he goes into that slide, if anybody comes near him, they're going to draw that flag. So I think defenders are very reluctant to hit quarterbacks even when they're running the ball. And I think that adds to the value of a running quarterback.
I think you're 100% right. And you've seen less injuries, should I say, from those types of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We'd always say can't make it through a season. Well, we're watching Jackson, Hurts, Fields, look really good and not have much of an injury designation.
Lamar Jackson, just an amazing performance Monday night. Lamar Jackson is really a magician of a quarterback. It's an amazing thing. The only trouble is that when the calendar turns to January, he just loses Lamar Jackson, but we'll see. As Sal Paolantonio mentioned in the prior segment, he's making some money right now. So,
big time. And he bet on himself, and guess what? He won.
All right, how about some jigsaw pieces from you specifically or emphasize for me, if you would, Dave, the Eagles-Commanders game. Anybody out there of a one-off nature you want to get in there this weekend?
Well, I mean, do you want to start with the Eagles-Commanders? Let's just start there first. I mean, looking at that game solely, let's remember what the Eagles did to the Commanders early in the season. It was the Devontae Smith breakout game, right? Huge game, and I think he went for like 156 and 169 and a TD. I think you attack this Washington team through the air, but I think it's going to be more A.J. Brown this week. In the last 4 games the Commanders have played, they've let up 7 receptions to Justin Jefferson, 7 to Pittman, 6 to Lazard, and 7 to Mooney. So they're really on that pace of letting up right around 7 receptions to the number ones. Right. I think A.J. Brown has a huge game this week. I think Devontae Smith can fill in and still get his reps, maybe 5 to 6 catches, but he's not going for that 8-169. Yeah. That's A.J. this week.
Yeah, I think, Dave, I full disclosure, I'm an A.J. Brown. I drafted him. But I got to tell you, I think he could name his number each week. I really do. I think him and Hurts, they can name their number, and let's see them do it. All right, who else you like?
Well, yeah, and then on the flip side, let's just, we don't want to admit it as Eagles fans, and we see the backdrop here, but the rush defense is hurting, especially without Jordan Davis. Damian Pierce goes, for a big one last week on Thursday Night Football. We can still get away with it, but we're 15th in the league in rushing defense. So I do think, the Commanders really haven't, decided which way they're going to go going back each week. But I think the way that Brian Robinson runs, I think he's more suited to go, north and south against this Eagles team. Antonio Gibson's had his chances. He had 38 yards for 14 carries the first time he saw the Eagles. It's not much. I think they know what they can do with him. I think they're going to give B-Rob the.
We'll see, Dave. They probably will, because I just cut him a week ago.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I cut because as soon as I picked him up on the wire, and the first thing that happened was all I saw was Antonio Gibson in the game. So God knows Robinson will probably run hog wild. All right. Is there one more guy that game or any other game, David, that you think might be a good fill-in this weekend? Not many teams on a bye, but somebody else you're looking for.
Yeah, there's not many teams on by. You're right. I'm really keeping an eye on this Aaron Jones situation.
Yeah.
I think there is a chance for A.J. Dillon to finally break out. And in the same vice versa, on the flip side, the Ezekiel Elliott situation.
Yeah.
Pollard's a smash play if we get no Zeke. Green Bay's like 31st in rush defense DVOA. And in the same way, like there's going to be no Dobbs, Romeo Dobbs. There's going to be some Lazard, but he's dinged up. They're going to need to move the ball and control on the ground. It kind of reminds me, Pat, of what the Bengals did last week. They saw Burrow get killed on Monday Night Football against Cleveland. They dropped back 82% of the time. Last week, Mixon goes nuts. I'm not telling you A.J. Dillon will, but I know they got to slow this game down against that ferocious Cowboys defensive line. So I like both running backs in that game.
It's amazing, Dave. You look at the landscape that is the NFC, and just to see the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Rams, and Monday night the Saints. These are 4 teams that were at the top of the conversation in August, and they are terrible. And it's
all
an amazing thing to see in the NFC.
And I know you will probably have some Minnesota people here. They're not good either. But, I mean, I respect what they've been doing. They're 7-1 record, and they're closing close games. But that doesn't survive a season. Look what the Raiders did last year, 7-1 in close games. And then now what are they? So,
All right. Listen, Dave Gloeckner, I got Sean Green is on, and I can't keep him waiting. He gets very, very angry with me when I do that. So I want to bring him on, and I appreciate you taking the time. Tell Cotillo to go to hell. And I look forward to you joining me for the rest of the season here. But thanks for sitting in on This Week in Pro Football. All right.
I'm in, Pat. Thanks as always.
All right, Dave. Thanks a lot. Dave Gloeckner joining me from Win Daily Sports. When we get back, Mr. Green on the network, joining me here with whatever weapon he wants to use. We'll talk some props and some picks on This Week in Pro Football. We'll be right back.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at ugies.com.
For the team at Cordasco Financial Network, a part of Mercer Advisors, financial planning is about more than just managing your money. They guide you in making retirement, tax, insurance, and estate planning decisions by creating a plan based entirely on your individual needs. Plus, Cordasco Financial Network professionals work one-on-one with business owners in creating and managing company 401k plans, IRAs, and defined benefit plans. They can help you maximize plan efficiency, ensure full regulatory compliance, and optimize tax obligations. Call 855-558-3500 or click the link in the description below to learn more. Let their team help you secure your future. 855-558-3500. Cordasco Financial Network is a trade name owned by Mercer Global Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Andrew Garrett Incorporated, which is not affiliated with Cordasco Financial Network or Mercer Advisors. Client experiences vary. Successful outcomes not guaranteed.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
I want to be a game changer in construction. I want to be able to provide diversity in the workforce, and it starts at the top. I started Rodriguez Construction Group in 2013 with 2 employees, and we're 85 strong today. M&T has been a great partner since day one, providing us the access, the opportunity, the funding to be able to continue our growth. We can change the community in a positive way, one person at a time, one job at a time, and one family at a time. I think M&T Bank is very committed to the community, just like us.
Welcome back this week in pro football. Dr. Callahan joining you here, week number 10, the National Football League. Let me bring this gentleman on here. That would be Sean Green from Bet SGPN, the sports betting podcast. Sean, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, Pat. Am I supposed to be all mad because you made me wait a little bit?
I know. When I see you pop up there, I think, oh, my God, cut the commercial short. We got to get Green on here fast. I wanted to, so lots to talk about here with you, Sean. Thanks very much for joining me here. But I want to start with a little off football thing. I know you were a big Phillies fan. And
yeah.
And the story that broke about this mattress guy in Houston, Jim, how do you pronounce it? McIngvale?
Yeah, I think you got it pretty close.
Yeah. I tell you what, it really puts the price of a mattress in perspective, the money this SOB's making, because he dropped a $10 million bet on Houston. I don't know when he did it, Sean. It must have been a while ago because he got 7.5 odds to win the World Series.
Yeah, he ended up clearing. Well, so I'll walk you through the whole thing because I've been kind of following this story. So what he does is he places different amounts as the season goes along. So he had 10 million in total to win 75 million in total, but some of that was at longer odds, like 100,000, here, a couple mil there. And, as the odds change, the price goes up. The real backstory is here. Everyone's calling this guy a gambler, and yeah, he is a gambler to a certain degree, but he set up this great hedge where, okay, so what he does is he says, hey, if the Astros win the World Series, you get your mattress or whatever furniture you bought for free.
Right.
And so this is a hedge against that promotion. So he really created a sweet spot where basically if he sold between 3.35 million and all the way up to 35.6 million mattresses or dollars in mattresses. Yeah. If he hit that sweet spot with sales, he was going to come out ahead regardless of whether the Astros won or lost. Right. So it ended up working out for him. But yeah, kudos to him to come up with this gimmick and then figure out a way to get so much promotion.
And then to win it too. But yeah, what I want to ask you though, as a corollary to this is somebody walks in or a guy like him, who obviously is well known in these casinos, but he walks in and let's say, I know you said he did it in increments, but let's say he did it maybe one time, $3 million or $4 million or some big number like that. What does a casino do? Do they hedge it right away? Do they call and try and bring 2 or 3 other places in on it?
Every kind of sportsbook has a different approach to this, which is pretty interesting, and including like the ones that are physical casinos in Vegas compared to the ones that are like your online sportsbooks. Some places they'll just be fine taking that action depending on what they think of you as a bettor. So if they see Mattress, and now Mattress Mac has also, this wasn't publicized, and I'm not trying to blow up his spot, but he's lost millions of dollars on betting the Astros as well. So when they see him betting on the Astros, they don't think like, oh, this guy's really sharp, we got to move the numbers. This is a guy who wins all the time. And they're going to take a look at their futures market and see and do the math. Hey, if the Astros hit, well, yeah, you lose money on the Astros, but then essentially you're winning money on every other World Series bet that was placed. So they'll take a look to balance it out. But I think there's a bit of a rumor, everyone thinks like they want equal action on both sides. Not necessarily. Like if they think the sharp side is on this side and the public is on that side, you know, they want to have less exposure to the sharp. So
sure. All right, Sean. By the way, Sean Green presented by the great folks at UGI here, the Bet SGPN podcast, and check out the website. It's an outstanding website. Sean, Eagles Commanders Monday night. Give me your thoughts on that game. I noticed you're the only guy on the website that is taking the Eagles. Everybody else likes the Commanders, I guess because of their snazzy new uniforms.
Oh, yeah. The uniforms, the distractions with Dan Snyder, they're firing on all cylinders. No, I do think Heineke is a slight bump up from what we've seen out of Commander Carson there. But this Eagles team, at home especially, is just a machine. They're 4-0 against the spread. Obviously, they haven't lost a game, but it's in the fashion that they're doing it, right? I mean, you watch that first matchup against Carson and the Commanders, they got an insane amount of pressure, and I think they're going to be able to do that again. Their deep line was playing pretty well, and then they added Robert Quinn. Normally, you could say, hey, this maybe is a look-ahead spot, or maybe the Eagles don't take a team seriously if they're an 11-point favorite, but this is Monday night. They're at home, and it's a division opponent. So I don't think they're going to take them too lightly. You know, it's different if it's like the Houston Texans and you're on the road and you're a double-digit favorite. That is a little tougher to cover. But at home against this Commanders team, they continue to dominate the turnover differential, and I think our offensive line is going to push them around.
All right. Is there a prop in this game that caught your eye, Sean, the Eagles and Commanders?
For Eagles Commanders, I'm always looking to play Taylor Heineke interceptions. I think, you know, CJ, the safety for the Eagles, he's been great. So far, he's tied for the league lead in interceptions. They like to try, and Heineke really likes Logan Thomas, that tight end.
Yeah.
He's back. They've been getting him more involved. So I would look towards Heineke to throw an interception. I'm not sure what the price is juice-wise right now, but usually they set it at over a half. If he throws one, you're going to cash.
All right, Sean Green, we're going to do a couple picks right now. Would you believe I was 2-0 and I pushed one last week? I had Atlanta against the Chargers +3, and it pushed at the end. But I did take Tampa Bay. What a god-awful way to lose a football game. But I did cover Tampa Bay on that one. And you were 2-1, so you weren't exactly trailing. But give me a couple games you like this week.
Let's start it off. Probably my favorite pick of the weekend here is the Miami Dolphins laying 3.5 at home against this Cleveland Browns team. First off, teams going into the bye have been super strong. 15-5 straight up and 15-5 against the spread. This Miami offense has been lights out. I think Cleveland's going to have trouble slowing them down, and Miami actually has a pretty decent run defense. So if you can slow down Bradley Chubb, I think you got a real good chance of beating the Cleveland Browns. So I'd love the Dolphins here at home, -3.5.
All right. I'll throw one out there. I like now this is going to be an odd pick because Josh Allen may not play, but I don't trust Kirk because it's on the road. Don't trust them outside. I know they've just beat Washington. So what? I like Buffalo here -3.5 because Buffalo coming off a bad game against the Jets.
I'm with you. And this Buffalo team can't afford to lose a game, right? They're 6-2.
I know. Isn't it something?
I think they rally around not having Josh Allen there. Meanwhile, the Vikings, they're ready to lock up the division. Now they don't need this game. I'm with you. I like the Bills on a reduced price.
Amazing. Minnesota 7-1, the most nondescript 7-1 team in NFL history. Right, Sean, give me another one of yours.
Also really like, and I'm slightly worried on this one, is that, the entire public is with me, but give me the Chicago Bears laying 2.5 at home. I know their defense has had their issues, but I mean, Jared Goff on the road, last two games for Jared Goff on the road, 6 total points. The Lions are coming off a rare win against the Packers at home. This is a letdown city for the Lions. And I think they're going to be, Bears should be able to move the ball pretty easily against this Detroit team.
I think the Bears are feeling it, Sean, and it's been a long time since they felt it.
True.
Yeah. I was mentioning how I think that their quarterback, he reminds me of Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields. He does. He's a thinner version of Jalen Hurts, but the way he runs, they both have that gazelle-type stride to them. It's very impressive, and this kid's caught fire. I can't imagine they're not going to beat the Lions by a field goal. All right, give me one more.
One more. Last but not least, we'll go all the way to Munich, Germany.
All right.
Give me the Seattle Seahawks getting 3 points. I still don't understand why this team is an underdog.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch that game, Pat, Rams, Bucks. You cast the -2.5, but the Bucks did not look good.
I know.
The Rams didn't look good. Meanwhile, this Seattle team, they're a well-rounded team. Oh my
God.
They want to run the ball.
I mentioned, Sean, to Sal Pao how impressive I think Pete Carroll is as a coach. I mean, just year in, year out, his teams are competitive. They're never – it's like the Steelers. The Steelers are not good this year, but I'd say the Ravens and the Seahawks are those quintessential teams that week in and year out, you never beat them down. You never rout them. And he's done a heck of a job this year out in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, Geno Smith, again, looks like comeback player of the year, even like dark horse for MVP. Yeah. And really what it is, the Seattle defense, they had a couple games there early where they really looked out of sorts, but post-bye week for the Seahawks, they've looked good. And I just so much is going wrong with this Bucs team right now. They were very fortunate to get that win.
I know.
I think you fade them here. I don't see what world they should be favorites.
All right, Sean Green, I appreciate you hanging with me here, and I promise I won't be late next week. All right, I'll get
all right. All good.
But thanks a lot for hanging out, and appreciate all the information. Where does everybody find you here? I'm telling everybody check this website out. Tell me,
sportsgamblingpodcast.com, and obviously we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just type in Sports Gambling Podcast on any sort of phone, tablet, whatever you got, will come up.
Highly recommended. All right, Sean, thanks very much, pal.
Take it easy, Pat.
All right, Sean Green, check it in there. And I got one other guy I don't like to keep waiting into, and that's the great Gary Myers, a Hall of Fame elector and prolific author. He's going to join me next. We're going to talk. Let me see. What am I talking to Gary about? I got a dozen things I always want to talk to him about. What's going on with the Colts, how competitive the AFC East is, and we'll find a couple other things, too, on This Week in Pro Football. Be right back.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
UGI First Bank is a true community bank with offices located throughout eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Being a First Bank customer comes with access to personal bankers, ones who know you and your business almost as well as you do. Joe Calabro is a regional president at First Bank and has been a leader and a lender in the southeastern Pennsylvania market for over 30 years. Call their Westchester office, 484-881-3800. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at ugies.com. Where do you tailgate when your team's away? Join Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill for their first ever Birds Tailgate Party on Sunday, September 25th, starting at noon under the tent. Enjoy a full tailgate buffet from only $26.95 per person, along with specials at the bar. Celebrate with friends cheering on our hometown team. Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill Athletic Club. Visit juddsdining.com for more details.
Evolution Energy Partners has helped hundreds of businesses save millions of dollars on their energy spend. They offer electricity and gas procurement strategies, efficiency audits and engineering and financing solutions, as well as online utility bill management. To learn how your business can save, visit www.evolutionep.com or contact Chuck Herschella at 610-329-8288. Evolution Energy Partners Energy Solutions to improve your bottom line.
I want to be a game changer in construction. I want to be able to provide diversity in the workforce, and it starts at the top. I started Rodriguez Construction Group in 2013 with 2 employees, and we're 85 strong today. M&T has been a great partner since day one, providing us the access, the opportunity, the funding to be able to continue our growth. We can change the community in a positive way, one person at a time, one job at a time, and one family at a time. I think M&T Bank is very committed to the community, just like us.
All right, back to wrap up week number 10 this week in pro football. Pat Callahan joining you here on JAKIB Sports. And Xander, let's get this guy on here. I only have 12 minutes with the great Gary Myers of the Dallas Morning News and New York Daily News, prolific author of Brady versus Manning, The Catch, and How About Them Cowboys. Good evening, Gary.
How you doing, Pat? Only
All
12 minutes. We got so much to talk about.
I know, Gary. So I need your best Ray Scott here. Okay, it's got to be clipped. It's got to be star, dollar, touchdown. All right, so
I can do it.
Unfortunately, you and I remember that. Most everybody watching doesn't, but I have to throw it out there.
That's right.
All right, Gary. I want to start with this. And that is the news this week that the Colts summarily dismissed Frank Reich. Either he resigned or he was in fact fired, and they hired Jeff Saturday out of the ESPN Bristol studio to be their coach. Things seem like they're a bit of a mess in Indianapolis. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly appear that way. They never really recovered from Andrew Luck a couple of weeks before the season. Right. I think it was 2018.
Right.
Deciding to retire. He had so many injuries and just got tired of battling them. And just look, they went with Jacoby Brissett that year. Then they, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan this year. Now they switched to Sam Ellinger.
Yeah.
You cannot win without a quarterback.
I know.
In this league. And, Frank Reich, I mean, he was just – they never drafted somebody. Chris Ballard just never gave him a young guy at the top of the draft to work with. So I think he's a good quarterback coach. But the Jeff Saturday thing, Pat, I mean, is –
Yeah, but you're right. I had forgotten that. They did the same thing a couple of years ago with Phillip Rivers that they tried to do this year with Matt Ryan.
Right, but it actually worked because they got to the playoffs, and I think they lost in Buffalo that year, if I remember right.
That is right. You got it right.
They were competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, so that turned out to be the high point of the post-Andrew Luck years.
Yeah, but the AFC South, it's a gettable division. I mean, Tennessee, tough team. They're tough out, but still a crushingly disappointing season in Indianapolis this year. Now, let's go to one group of teams where it is not disappointing. And it's funny, Gary, in an earlier show, you and I talked about the sudden rise of the NFC East, like a phoenix from the ashes of the last couple of years. It was the worst division of football. How about the AFC East, where Buffalo, we know, major Super Bowl contender. But just give me a couple minutes on the other 3 teams in that division and how all of a sudden that ship's been righted, especially in Miami and New York.
Yeah, I mean, watching Buffalo the last couple of weeks, the second half against Green Bay, Josh Allen threw 2 bad interceptions. He had a couple of really bad ones against the Jets last week. And now he's got the elbow injury.
Yeah.
That, I mean, it's amazing that he threw a 70-yard pass on the last play of the game after he got hurt.
I know.
Right.
I know. You're certainly right.
But as far, I think the Jets are impressive, but at some point the formula that they're using is not sustainable. You got to get something out of the quarterback.
Yeah.
He threw for over 300 yards against the Patriots, but that was a game he also threw 3 interceptions. Last week he threw for about 150 or so and didn't throw an interception, and they win. But you can't do that every week. It's like you were talking about Tennessee before. I think they completed 5 passes in that game against Kansas City, and what a tribute it is to Mike Vrabel that getting nothing out of your quarterback, they took a Super Bowl favorite to overtime.
I know.
On the road.
Mike Vrabel's a hell of a coach.
He really is, right?
That's a tough team. It's funny, the AFC, Gary, just to segue for a minute. Teams like Tennessee and Baltimore, I mean, the Ravens every week, they give you a tough game. I don't care who they're playing. They're gonna fight you right to the end. And
can you imagine if the Ravens blew all those fourth quarter leads? I think 3 of them.
I know.
They're 6-3. I mean, if they just were able to finish in those other 3 games, they could be undefeated along with the Eagles.
Certainly true. Yeah, it's certainly true. But the way they blew those leads, Gary, that's the type of thing, though, that seems to always manifest in January with Lamar Jackson. I'm rooting for him this year to actually, maybe this is the year where he can get that mantle off his back. And boy, he's if he does, he's in for a shocking payday.
Yeah, I mean, and Roquan Smith, I thought he was a great pickup for that defense. But getting back to the AFC East, Miami, getting Bradley Chubb, that was a key pickup for their defense, and their offense right now is just explosive. I mean, it's really a dynamic offense, but it's all predicated on keeping Tua healthy, and hopefully he doesn't suffer another concussion. But a guy like him, every time he drops back to pass and gets hit, you kind of cringe a little bit and wondering if he's going to get up, just because of what's happened this year. And he's had an injury history throughout his career, going back to Alabama. The Patriots are, they're just going to grind it out. Matt Jones seems to me like he's regressed somewhat, which is, really surprising in his second year. But then when you think about, I know Josh McDaniels is not doing a good job in Las Vegas, but he has always done a good job as the offensive coordinator in New England. And I think that Matt Jones misses Josh McDaniels this year. And when you got Matt Patricia and Joe Judge in your ear, two failed head coaches.
I know.
Patricia's a defensive coach and Judge is a special teams coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess when you look at it from that perspective, you're not really that surprised that he's taking a step backwards.
No. And I think the Patriots, whatever success they're having is because they have a defense good enough to give the quarterback a short field. But as you mentioned with the Jets, I'm not sure that's a formula that they're going to be able to sustain sooner or later. As you mentioned, those two quarterbacks have to go 80 yards with a minute.
Yeah, but you know what? With three wild card teams, Pat, it's a formula that might be sustainable to get to 9 victories, which
could get you.
It's going to take every year now in both conferences to get the third spot.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be the third wild card and lose in the first round.
Exactly.
And, I mean, both those guys are only in their second year, Jones and Wilson. So I think we're a little early in their stories to make any definitive judgments on them.
All right, Gary, in the NFC, as you know, this show is headquartered outside of Philadelphia. So
I didn't know that.
A lot of Eagles talk here, Gary. But so just tell me this. The Eagles and the NFC is not as strong as the AFC, clearly. But give me a team that you think is the biggest threat to Philadelphia right now coming out of the NFC and heading into the second half of the season.
San Francisco.
Right.
I really think that I mean, you look at the Vikings at 7-1, and I heard you earlier in the show. There are a nondescript team. I mean, the highlight of their season was everybody seeing Kirk Cousins dancing on the plane.
I know, with a big chain on it. I know.
Can you name anything else about it? I mean, Justin Jefferson's a great player, but I just think, and I can't remember if we talked about this last week. We might have. The addition of Christian McCaffrey it almost nullifies the fact that Jimmy G is not an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
Because McCaffrey's always open. And it's always like within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage that Garoppolo should be able to complete those passes. And then the guy is dynamite with the ball in his hands. So, and their defense is really good. When they're healthy, they're really, really good. Yeah. So I see them as the team that when we're sitting here the first week in January, that they've won that division, potentially getting not a first round bye because they won't get the 1 seed,
right?
But getting a home game in that first round of the playoffs for sure, and then being a team that nobody wants to play, in round 2 and 3.
Yeah, I was talking to Gary, but Sean Green in the prior segment about these just the roadside is littered in the NFC with teams that were lauded in August as being strong teams. And it's just shocking, Gary, isn't it, that in Los Angeles and Green Bay and New Orleans and even Tampa Bay. Now, you predicted last week that Tampa would win that game and would probably get the ship righted. But, boy, that was not an impressive enough performance to warrant that, right?
I watched that whole game, and to see teams that had been prolific offensively in recent years, like Tampa and the Rams specifically last year, struggle to get in position to kick field goals was astounding. The best work that Brady did the entire game was in the last 50 seconds.
I know.
Which, he's excelled at that in his career.
I know.
But I had severe doubts he was going to be able to do it because everything is different in Tampa this year. I still think they can get on a roll. I think they will win that division. But unless they start beating people convincingly, they're going to be an early out in the playoffs.
Nah, I know. I wonder who's going to be left. I think you're right. Philadelphia, San Francisco, but you need a couple more. You need a Final Four, and we'll see who the heck that's going to be.
I'd say Minnesota and Tampa. If you got to pick division winners, then you go Minnesota, Tampa, Philadelphia, and San Francisco.
Right.
Although, Seattle's obviously been impressive.
And then Dallas, the Cowboys. I just don't know about the Giants. I think the same thing with the Giants. I know you're bigger on Daniel Jones, and for the same reason that he's not been coached up right. But I have to see it to believe it from Daniel Jones as to whether he can get that team to January. So that's going to be an interesting second half.
The major impediment for Daniel Jones right now is Pat, literally, he has nobody to throw the ball to.
Other than that,
Saquon Barkley.
It's funny.
They're hoping to get Galladay back this weekend, but he's done nothing in a year and a half in New York. He literally has nobody to throw the ball to.
I know.
It's amazing.
It is. It's amazing is right. It's amazing a team in Miami could have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Mike Gesicki, and a team in New York could have absolutely nobody to throw the ball to. It's quite shocking. But all right, Gary, we blew through that 12 minutes. I'm sorry. I could spend a half an hour talking to you. So
well, you just have to call me earlier.
I know. We're going to do that. We're going to have a Gary Myers hour coming up sooner or later here. And I appreciate you taking the time very much, Gary. Look forward to talking to you next week. All right.
Okay, Pat. That's great.
All right. Great. Gary Myers joining me here. All right. Xander, I promise I'll get you out of here. Just if you could bring up the Week 10 schedule. I just want to blow through that real quick here and talk about a couple of games on the Week 10 schedule that are of some interest. Obviously, the Eagles game Monday night is a big game. Week 10, you got Atlanta tonight against Carolina. Not a great Thursday night game. Cowboys and Packers, Fox is all over that like it's a big game. I think Dallas is going to win that relatively easily. The Sunday night game, San Francisco hosts the LA Chargers. The trouble is, which LA Chargers team is going to show up? I think San Francisco is going to win that game. And then you got the Eagles game Monday night. Seattle, Tampa at 9:30 on Sunday morning. A good way to start a Sunday morning. It should be a very good game. So anyway, that is your schedule for week number 10, and that is our show for week number 10 here in the National Football League here on JAKIB Sports. Pat Callahan joining you. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to talking to you next week on This Week in Pro Football.